Hey there. Welcome to the Gambit Stratagem Podcast. We just did an episode recently, so
Yeah.
what have you been up to? Have you gotten into anything new?
No,
Did you
trying
watch?
to find a house. That's proved to be difficult.
Yeah, one fruit fly. That's our...
Missed him by a mile.
I don't think that's right.
He was over here.
No, I saw one right here.
All right. What have you been up
I think you should tell
to? Oh man, I don't know.
a little bit of your experience. Okay.
All right.
You don't have to.
Yeah, we'll save that one. We'll put that one on the back burner
All right.
for future
It's a great
times.
story. Did you watch any videos with the professor?
No. I watched
you.
an entire weekend of the professor
also
competing this weekend.
Oh yeah, Bradford Kowski.
Bradford Kowski.
I was watching for the
credit off.
listeners and viewers. Yeah. What was Roman's?
It was like Roman credit off.
Oh, yeah, for the subtitles on
No,
YouTube.
credit cough.
Credit
That's what
cough?
it was. Credit cough.
I'm watching the subtitles and he says, "Here comes Bradford Kowski." So, now Brent Fikowski is forever just going to be Bradford
Kowski.
to me.
Bradford.
Old Bradford Kowski. I feel like it's somebody your grandfather would tell stories about.
From back in the day. One of his
Oh, back in my
schoolmates.
day, old Bradford Kowski had a Hemi. That thing, nobody could beat him in a race.
God bless Bradford.
No, nothing's really new, I don't
Nothing
think.
wild.
Well, we talked about just random health topic. We talked about my journey into the single blade razor arena. Been obviously shaving my head with that, not so much my face. Single blade razor, terrible for any other part of your body that's not your head.
Okay.
Probably not bad for your face, not terrible for your head, not good for really any other part of your body, I'll say. The expense has been way less. So like you can get a packet of like 100 blades for like $10.
Yeah, I use them for my hands.
Yeah, so like multi-bladed razors are
Expensive.
yeah, they're like $5 a cartridge or something.
Yeah.
It's like $32 for maybe not that bad. It was like $32 I think for a 12 pack or something.
Right.
That was
It's
at
more than
Sam's.
you think you should be spending.
Yeah, that was like at Sam's Club. It wasn't like, I was buying them one at a time or the most expensive ones. But I did go back to my like 4-blade or 5-blade, whatever, like Schick Quattro, whatever it's called, fancy pants razor. And I was like, oh man, this is pretty smooth. And it just went so much faster. So I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm gonna go back and forth a couple times, I think, before I decide. But not sure single blade shaving is where it's at for the scalpy boys.
One of them scalpy boys.
Scalpy boy. So, I guess that's intro out of the way. I wanted to say our podcast was brought to you by Swolverine because I've been loving their supplements, but I'm in a scent shaker, so it's not really.
Oh, this
not really
podcast
working.
brought to you by Protein.
Yeah, I like both of them though. So I'll say, while this isn't a scent shaker, if you can see this, no complaints here. Giving some props to Ascent because we've carried them for a long time. I like them, but man, Swolverine's on the market, and I really dig their product lineup. You guys have heard me talk about the ZMT if you're following our Instagram and stuff. Have you been using it?
Yeah, like here and there, not like super steady,
Not all the
but
time.
mostly like if I know I don't have to wake up early, I'll take it just to make sure I stay
Does it sack you in
asleep.
pretty hard?
I think it just helps me fall asleep. It helps me sleep a little deeper, right? Like I never really have a problem.
I mean, you're worried about
sleeping,
waking
but-
up when you take it?
No, I'm worried about waking up in general. Like just naturally, I'll wake up at 2-3 o'clock and have.
My
a hard
dad
time
got
going
some,
back to
and
sleep.
Cynthia got some. And they were both. Well, my dad had forgotten to take his so far. Last I checked with him, but Cynthia was like, "Wow,
Yeah, Mara loves
good."
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
So-
sure she died for several hours.
To check her.
I had to check her pulse.
That's like when we take Luca to the park. Sometimes we'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, "Are you
Shake her
alive?"
around a
Yeah.
little
Okay. There's a heartbeat there. So we wanted to do a kind of a games recap. We're just gonna chat about the games. The CrossFit Games just wrapped up. We just put out a
Maybe you've heard of them.
Yeah, maybe you've heard of the CrossFit Games. We just put out a podcast just this weekend, and as promised, we were going to do a follow-up podcast, kind of just recapping, and I think, honestly, we're just going to go through the events one by one and kind of just talk about it from kind of a spectator/insider. I mean, I wouldn't call either of us very much of an insider, but we work with Kelly, who works for CrossFit, was at the games, has been to the games multiple times. I've been there coaching a handful of times, so we kind of like seen behind the scenes, know some of the people involved, some of the inner workings, so we're not total outsiders either. But yeah, just kind of talk about a totally novice, or I should say like totally just amateur and non-valid opinions about the competitors and the events and the programming and
we can definitely
in between.
speak to the programming. I mean, we've both programmed for gyms before.
Oh, yeah.
We've written programs for.
I mean, we can share our opinions.
Oh,
that's for sure.
We've got nothing about opinions.
No problem sharing semi-qualified opinions. So a couple things right off the bat. What's different this year? Dave Castro did not program.
Right. Yeah. So he programmed the Open and just kind of left it. Like he got fired from there.
He got fired and then rehired, but not to do the same. He got hired back to be like in charge of the affiliate program, not run the game. So Adrian Bosman is programming the kind of individual category, as I understand it.
I think he programmed the teams as well. I could be wrong.
I'm sure he was involved.
I know he.
The way Kelly made it sound, there was more of a team doing like the masters and teens and kind of other divisions.
Cool.
And so Kelly went out to test someone's workout. She was not on the demo team, but she went out to kind of test some stuff and help them kind of put the finishing touches on the programming. And Adrian Bosman, if you guys don't know, is a super OG, probably just as much of an OG as Dave, or close to it.
Yeah, I mean, he was original CrossFit San Fran.
Yeah. So he's been around for a super long time, and he's been head judge for quite a few years at the games. So definitely no stranger. Right. So to have him step in, definitely a guy who understands kind of the inner workings and
the methodology and what the athletes are capable of, what a good test looks like.
Yeah, and I actually didn't know that going into it. I don't follow things when I'm not coaching somebody. When I talk about this to people, when they ask me about competing, it's like, now that I'm not actively coaching anyone, I honestly pay very little attention to what's going on because I just don't have a horse in the race. But you mentioned Adrian was doing the individuals program, and like I don't know that I could think of a better group of individuals. I know like the guys formerly of Ham Plan, Austin Malleolo, James Hobart, Spencer Hendel. They're involved in the .com programming and everything. I think they were involved in some of the masters and teens programming, which is the stuff that Kelly went out primarily to test. And Kelly said she was excited about the event. So it was still in Madison, Wisconsin. So nothing else too much different. Just everything behind the scenes, basically.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really different.
Just all the guts.
Just everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, like, when we talked about this in the last podcast, whether you aim to not have your piece of flair on the programming or not, it's like you're still a person. It's still a piece of art. It's still going to be a deviation.
Your personality is going to show through.
Right. And I think for the last 13, 15. How many? Like what were the first years of the games? Was 8? 8. 2008.
Yeah. So 14.
So 14 years. It's all been Dave Castro. So like there's.
Yeah.
He has been the programming. Mm-hmm. So like kind of going into the season, I kind of keep a little bit more tabs on the competitive scene. Like I listen to a lot of, more competitive coaches, things out there. It's like they had very little understanding of what was coming down the pike.
Yeah.
I also happen to listen to a lot of Adrian Bosman's podcast, which we plugged in our last episode.
Yeah.
And there's
which was called.
Hell yeah. Very not random. There it is.
Very not random.
Very not random. And so like there's just things that Adrian is.
Well, and while we're on the topic, the thing I noticed about him, and you kind of alluded to it by saying that like when Dave was in charge, it was like stuff kind of just came down the pipeline, and you were like, oh, this is what it is. Mm-hmm. And Dave would kind of lurk in the shadows at the games. He'd pop out, say hi to the athletes and stuff, and he definitely like knew athletes on a personal level, and he was Dave was a good dude. I met him a handful of times, and everybody I know that knows Dave says he's a good guy. He kind of plays the villain a little bit in public, but a good guy, but Adrian's very much more on the front lines. He's out on the floor walking around. He's still kind of doing, I don't know if he was doing actual head judge duties, but he was his presence was virtually the same during the games. Like you see him on the floor, he's out there telling people to make sure they're facing the right direction and stuff. He's very involved.
To the point where like he was doing recap podcasts every night with Savant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
that's
you could
cool.
see the exhaustion in his face, but he still, to that point, was still out there.
I picked up Kelly coming off the plane, and she's just dead in the eyes. Yeah. People that go there to work are just. I mean, this is what you plan your whole year around this.
Yeah.
So event 1.
Bike to work, 75 toes to bar, 5-mile road bike, 75 chest to bar pull-ups, 5-mile bike. A workout that we just did here at Gambit, an iteration of yesterday. Rough, from my perspective.
I liked it. That was a good one for me.
Yeah, my hands didn't survive, as I think a lot of members.
I got a blister.
If you guys were here yesterday, didn't survive. But I mean, it's just so crazy. Like, so obviously our workout was 50 of each. RX Plus was 75 of each. And the difference between a normal, like, competitive fit athlete doing 50 toes to bar and 50 chest to bar versus a games athlete doing 75 is still shocking. Like, they got through it in like 3 to 4 sets.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, even getting up to 50, I think you and I ended up doing 75, but even getting up to 50, I was already at 6, 7, 8 sets. It's just, I think the difference in the field on the gymnastics was about 20 seconds, give or take. So it all just came down to how good on the bike you were.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking up the leaderboard. So Haley Adams won that on the women's side.
Yeah, first time she's ever been in a leader jersey.
Yep, she is 21 years old, for reference. Roman Krennikov won that on the men's side.
No.
Sorry, I had to
steroids
pan over.
Ricky.
Asterisk. Ricky the asterisk Garrard. And also an amendment. So Kelly said, I think I was talking to Kelly. Who did she say she was talking to? She talked to somebody who said that, one of the main like athlete control guys, and she was like asking him how much Ricky got tested, and he said, he got tested a bunch.
Yeah.
Which last time we talked, you said you read an article that said he only got tested once,
yeah,
which I found hard to believe.
I've done a little bit more digging.
So just to kind of amend our previous, there is evidence out there or claims that he was tested pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I think
it'd be
honestly
super funny though if he took 3rd place again and then also popped it.
we
got stripped of 3rd place twice.
Mara and I were talking about it. I was like, wouldn't it be hilarious if like 5 days from now it comes back and he gets, it shows that he tests positive.
I mean,
the reality is the guy served his time. He came out. He had a great weekend.
And we talked about this last time, and it's like, there are people that are like, I think you should serve a lifetime ban, and I don't necessarily think that's true because 4 years could actually absolutely devastate your CrossFit career.
I think also like we look at the field, and there's so many young athletes that are 17, 18, 19, 20, even 21. I was such an asshole when I was that age. Like, I did so many dumb things that I thankfully am not held accountable for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fair.
So I try to look at it from that perspective.
So the only point I was going to make is like, nothing against him personally. I don't know him. Right. I don't know what kind of guy he is. I just, for the sake of the sport, I'm happy he didn't win.
Yes, so happy he didn't win.
And then you've got, considering the kind of global climate, it was like, well, Roman Krennikov takes 2nd place, and you're kind of like, well, did we want a Russian standing on the podium? And to his credit, I don't know whose idea that was, but to his credit, all these athletes are walking around with their national flag behind him, and he either has no flag or, like you said, at one point he's carrying a CrossFit flag.
Well, also
so he's kind of like.
I've heard a couple people bitching about them even letting a Russian athlete in. It's like
he's been trying for 5 years.
Been trying for 5 years. He actively spoke out against his government, knowing that puts himself at risk.
Yeah.
Well,
just the act of like trying to get here and get a visa could have put him at risk.
Yeah.
Even not speaking out.
Yeah. And like he got, and you can say what you will about this, but like his wife was pregnant, he got his visa, and he got out of town with the idea of working towards getting her a visa.
Yeah, and they're all here now.
Yeah,
and he's got a 5-year,
yeah,
I think a 5-year visa. So
yeah,
good for him. I love to see it. Love the story.
Yeah, if you're mad about it being a Russian guy, it's like he did everything. It's not his fault. He was born in Russia
for sure. So we liked Bike to Work. It was a cool event.
Yeah. Good kickoff.
Yeah, good way to kick it
Not
off.
as good as the second workout.
That was
skill speed medley.
Oh, that was the third workout.
Oh, right.
Shuttle.
Yeah,
to
so the
overhead.
second workout got pushed to the next day though because of rain.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah, so technically
good catch.
event 2 was shuttle to overhead.
Yep.
But that was pushed
So
back
the
a day
skill
'cause of
speed
rain.
medley. We'll talk about skill speed medley. Basically, an ascending ladder of. I can kind of superimpose these up on the screen later, but ascending ladder of increasing difficulty.
Pegboards.
Jump rope, pegboards, jump rope, then handstand.
Pistol squats first.
Oh yeah, pistol squats.
Which didn't get any harder, but still pistol squats, and then.
And they were
handstand
non-alternating
walk
for the first time.
Yeah.
So the
unbroken.
jump rope ascended from single unders to double unders to double under with a crossover, which was a wacky thing we've never seen before. Which I said, and we talked about this I think briefly last time, but I said makes way more sense to go straight to triple unders. But after you telling me you tried a double under crossover, and pretty quickly did one successfully, I tried one and also pretty quickly did one successfully.
And
I kinda thought, okay, fair.
Also an interesting
probably
thing,
easier to judge that too, in honesty.
In our last on our last podcast, we talked about when you were asking kind of what I'm getting into, we talked about kind of going back and watching every second counts. There's also footage of, and I forget which athlete it was, but one of the athletes that you're seeing there is just training footage of him just doing double under crossovers. Which is kind of funny, like looking back. Like again, that was back in 2008 or 9, early iteration of the games.
Yeah.
But just this massive human being doing double under crossovers. It's just kind of an interesting.
That's always what. I don't get too worked up over that kind of stuff because that's the part of CrossFit that's always excited me. Like the stuff that lives in the gray area, or not even the gray area, but kind of the margins or whatever. So like when. I discovered the kettlebell snatch. I became fascinated with that. I was like, oh, how heavy can I snatch a kettlebell? And I went out and bought a 90-pound kettlebell. I think we're the only gym in town who had a 90-pound kettlebell, and it just sat and collected dust most of the time. But I could swing it and I could snatch it. And consequently, when at the regionals in 2013, or it had to have been 13, I think, they announced a 100-pound dumbbell snatch. No one could do it at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, not no one, but like in our region, I know we had like
tough.
3 or 4 guys from the St. Louis area that were qualifying for regionals, and they were going, and they're calling me going, do you have a 100-pound dumbbell? And I was like, well, no, I have a 90, but like, and they're like, can you teach me how to snatch it? And I'm like, I mean, yeah. And Kelly couldn't snatch the 70, and infamous story around here was we had a 50 and a 70, and Kelly, we ended up duct taping 2.5-pound plates to the end of the 50 to like bridge the gap.
Progressive overload.
So yeah, in 2 weeks she learned she went up there not knowing how to snatch a 70 really, and then ended up doing it in the workout. But it was like, that's the kind of stuff that pops up. So like triple unders. I was doing triple unders back then when people were like, you know, most people can barely do double unders, and I'm working on triple unders. And it wasn't that I was like such a good athlete. I just really enjoyed kind of settling into one little niche of CrossFit and then kind of taking that as far as I could. So that kind of stuff excites me. So that was a really cool event.
The thing I love about the workout is it's just such a callback to basics.
Yeah.
Right? Like we work on double unders a lot, whether it's warming up or things like that. Something I've started doing is just doing single unders and double unders backwards, just to again like increase capacity within that. And I think just that little bit of practice that I've done in the last year that I've been here has made it to where like doing a double under crossover was super easy to pick up because we've already worked all these other.
If there's anything you can kind of count on at the games, it's that as soon as you say to yourself or your athletes, oh, they never do fill in the blank at the games, or they always do it this way at the games, like it's going to get turned around.
As it should.
Because it's a standard that like the showing full extension on top of a box before you step or jump down, that never used to be a thing. You could always pogo off the box. You just had to show extension on or above the box. Like you could jump off the box and show extension. Well, then they come out, and it's like, just as we'll get to later, as soon as you get comfortable doing handstands, they make you face the other direction.
Yeah.
So
Or do a 360 like they did in the second
yeah,
iteration
pirouette,
here.
yeah. As soon as you get comfortable doing handstands, when they introduced the step and the ramp on the handstand course, that was insane. The year they did that, people were just like, what? We barely know how to handstand walk. Who can do this? And then, of course, they go out there and every athlete can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, a really, really cool kind of progression on, and a regression on certain elements. I think my favorite event to watch, I think a lot of people hated it. Like a lot of...
The skill event?
Yeah.
Like,
you know.
So I thought it was really cool
because
because we haven't, I mean, I'm sure we have, someone can correct me, but the last like big wow skill session I remember was the year they did the softball throw, the GHD med ball toss, and the L-sit hold. There might have been one other thing in there, but like, I remember everybody going, oh, that's okay, that doesn't really, it's not super difficult. It's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be. It's a specific skills
and
test.
We still talk about people not being able to throw a softball to this day.
Yeah, you joke about it, and it's like...
We're 7-8 years removed from that event, and we still make fun of people for not being able to throw a softball.
You're not on camera, Colin. No one's going to watch this anyway. So then we go back to shuttle to overhead, which was...
We still had one more event that day. Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah, Elizabeth elevated. Excuse me.
Elizabeth elevated. Parallel bars.
Yep.
Elizabeth,
workout, one of my favorite workouts.
Yeah, workout that we just did at Gambit.
Yep.
You know, maybe it would have been was that Friday? The day of? The day did it? Or Wednesday?
I think it was the day. I think it was prior, but...
Yeah, anyways, they added 2 rounds of 9, but the cool kind of wrinkle here was they did dips, but then had to walk down the set of parallels, rather.
Parallel bars, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Just something different, just testing a unique skill, and probably like, I like that because it's kind of, you see it, and I think a lot of people were thinking, man, can people even do that? But all those athletes can do that. They're all physically adept enough to handle walking.
I think it's a different iteration of handstand walking. Right? Like, it's still active with pressing. It's still...
And you saw a lot of, like, Patrick Vellner goes out there and he's got that gymnastic background. His arms are totally locked out, legs are straight, and he's just so efficient on it. And you got Roman crunched over like this, just blowing energy, like bleeding energy like crazy.
And
so really
Pat won that one,
I've got... Pat did easily by like a minute.
Just
Ariel
dominated.
Ariel Lowen won on the women's side.
Yeah, which listening to her interview about her not believing that she could beat Tia and being in the lane next to her, and then realizing that she could, she's like, oh my gosh, so cool.
Yeah.
That was a cool event. Now that brings us to shuttle to overhead.
Yeah, shuttle to overhead. So basically a bunch of shuttle runs and then a bunch of split jerks, or shoulder to overhead rather, any type of jerk.
Yeah.
At 300 for the gentlemen, at 200 for the women.
Yeah.
Which
shocking to see how many people were push jerking that weight. So they had to do singles off of the jerk blocks, which is a cool implement to bring in.
Which is honestly huge. That probably accounted for a lot of people's ability to be able to cycle that bar as fast as they did. Because if you had to re-rack that every time, that would be so expensive energy-wise.
Yeah, and I think you would have seen people actually try to do that. But yeah, so they had to be singles. It's just so heavy.
So heavy. I mean, that's 10 or 11 pounds shy of the most I've ever put over my head.
Yeah.
When I was actively just trying to put as much as I possibly could over my head at all times. So
a little over a mile, and you saw most of those athletes.
But for most of those people, that's 50 pounds under their max.
Yeah.
For a fair portion of those people. And you definitely saw people struggle with it. But like,
sure.
Amanda Barnhart's got and Tia, they have like 250 or 260 jerks. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's not easy, but confident they can do it. But that was a cool event because it was, like you said, it was really cool to see people just freaking cycle that weight.
And run fast.
Yeah.
Like running 30 miles. Because I think who is the winner? I believe there's 2 scored events. I think Haley won the run. I believe Tia won the overhead portion. But like Haley's run was, I think, 6 minutes, and it was over a mile.
Yeah.
With turns.
Yeah.
Like, get out of town.
Yeah, that's what he said at one point.
So
He's like, these athletes are running much faster than probably their normal mile pace.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, super fun event to watch, though.
The Capitol. That was the
that was it.
Lucifel carry,
So they just started with pig flips. Basically like a tire flip, kind of. 20 of those, 3.5 mile run. They carried jerry cans or bags, technically. Basically carried really heavy shopping bags. And then a Husafel bear hug carry. Definitely the most amount of pictures, I think, from the weekend. I think that was kind of a cool event to use the Madison scenery and start to implement the whole community into the games.
Yeah.
We got a lot of cool pictures. Poor Rebecca Fuselier had the entire crowd surrounding her, and probably my worst nightmare.
Those last few steps looked absolutely devastating.
Yeah,
and she's just like people got to the stairs, and you're kind of looking at them on TV, thinking, "Oh, they don't look like that big a deal," but everybody was just dying when they got there.
For sure.
So that looked tough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna speed things up here because we're gonna have a class starting. So, I thought we had plenty of time, but we could talk for hours. Up and over. That was a bunch of jumping.
Yeah,
GHD
muscle ups, GHDs, weighted lunge. Not my favorite to watch personally. Not a bad event.
Yeah.
Just kind of one of those.
Super exciting to watch.
Kind of one of those fill in the.
I like those ones where they have to like climb over stuff because it's a very practical, functional skill, but they were just kind of like hopping over a log. It was kind of like, all right.
Yeah, I think it had potential and just.
What else? Since we are kind of running short on time, what else? We've got a handful of events left. What were your favorite events?
Sandbag 1 rep max.
The 1 rep max event was a sandbag. That was super cool.
On paper, I was a little.
It didn't get as sloppy as I thought it was going to get.
No, it got sloppy.
It got
not as sloppy. No, I think it's just a functional strength. And really, really, really fun to watch.
Having been in that scenario, I can tell when I see people's faces kind of like, wow, kind of walk away like they're seeing stars.
I mean, Cole Sager spending 20 seconds trying to clean a bag and then failing. It's just heartbreaking.
And oh man, I mean, getting up. What was the last men's bag? 350. Insane. I mean, we have a 200-pound bag, and I can barely lift it.
Sucks,
I see stars when I pick that thing up. It's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, so that one, I think my favorite event was back 9, was the second to last.
Back 9 was...
the yoke carry, 2 front squats, 3 heavy deadlifts, 2 front squats, yoke carry.
So I like that because we didn't get a good like heavy barbell event like the max out event we get a lot of times. We got the sandbag thing, which was definitely cool, but you're still kind of like, well, people do still really want to see like a heavy snatch, a heavy clean, that kind of stuff. So that event definitely filled that gap a little bit.
For sure.
And you saw people come out hot, come off that yoke and just fail.
And just not be able to clean.
That clean
just
miserably.
Get spitting out of the back, left and right. And then honestly, Jackie, I love anytime a girl workout's programmed, I'm going to love it. It's just, Jackie is a great workout, 1,000-meter row, 50 thrusters, 30 pull-ups. They did muscle ups. They had 95-65 instead of 45-35.
Yeah.
And they're still faster than I do my regular Jackie.
It's sad.
I think the cool wrinkle was like they had a time gate for the row. Like they had to be done with the row, or they just couldn't move on.
You haven't done Jackie in a while. Surely you're faster than that at this point.
We're gonna do it Friday, so let's party.
And Kelly's got a video on .com explaining how to approach Jackie.
There you go. We'll link that.
We're gonna. Yeah, it's gonna be. We're gonna put it on social medias and stuff. But yeah, we'll link that. I would say the Alpaca was my biggest disappointment because they were supposed to do rope climbs. Well, and they could have. And Kelly said she talked to Boz at one point, and he was like, yeah, I should have just gone with it because it's like, yeah, the ropes are wet, but all their ropes are going to be wet.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be legless rope climb, and I was like, just make it.
It's supposed to be legless descent too.
Yeah, but just make it not legless. Like, just keep it in because that would have. I don't think it would have ultimately really changed who was on the podium.
Even if you just doubled the rope climbs to 4 regular instead of 2 legless.
Yeah, but it's I can't imagine it's going to be tough to make those kind of calls. And when you're trying to think about athlete safety and everything, the last thing you want is like a big,
I do think that was the big
final day event, and you got people rolling ankles or something.
I think that was the big separation between Bob's and Dave. I feel like Dave would have just been like, you guys are climbing ropes.
Figure it out. Yeah.
You guys are athletes.
For better or worse, because I've definitely seen Dave kind of stick to his guns, and you're like, hey, maybe you should just change it up a little bit.
Right.
So, all in all, super happy with the event.
Phenomenal
Great,
weekend,
great games. Love to see our brosif, Justin Medeiros. He's such a bro. He's just
Love to see.
I keep saying every time he's on TV, I expect him. You ever see that clip of that surfer who's getting interviewed by the news, and he's, oh man, that's so gnarly. You just go in and it turns. I feel like that's how he's gonna start.
That's just gonna be him at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love him. He's a good dude. Always got his family there. Obviously, it's just cool. You hate to see somebody like that kind of almost come out of nowhere, do really well, and then disappear again. So I'd like to see him. It's cool to see him like win.
And
again.
it wasn't like he didn't just run away with it.
Yeah,
like, he had to fight
work for it.
He had to fight his ass
and I
off.
like to see that too. It's always lame when somebody just runs away with it. And I think that's a testament to good programming this year. The fact that we were seeing
that on both sides. I mean, Tia didn't exactly run away with it either. Like,
she definitely
weird
kind
spot.
of climbed the ladder.
As was like from the team side, Mayhem Freedom was in a weird spot for a big portion
and to me,
of the weekend.
that says we didn't see a ton of barbell stuff. We saw pretty well balanced programming.
Yeah,
a little bit of everything, and that to me is evidenced by what the leaderboard was looking at.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
We'll wrap up.
It was a lot of fun. Great
class
programming. I think Boz knocked it out of the park.
Agreed.
Hell
Excited for next year.
Same.
Excited to see what because Tia announced she's retiring, right?
I don't think she officially did. I think the announcers did.
Yeah, but I think it was super weird. So I don't.
Yeah.
That's another thing we could kind of pull apart. But everybody's kind of like, well, is she gonna retire or not? And then they interview her post. They're like, you just won. Are you gonna come back next year? She kind of said, well, that's the question, is it? Disappears behind the scenes, and then Kiki, the announcer, comes back out and is like, hey everybody, this is gonna be Tia's last event. What a bizarre way to announce that. She said at one point, draw your attention up to the monitors for a video. So I'm like, maybe there was a video about it, but then the video didn't ever play. They were having like technical difficulties. I feel like she said, we'll come back to that later, and they never really came back to it. So
weird. Maybe she's like, screw it, I'm gonna come back. I
don't know. If I had to guess, I would guess that between, respectively, Matt Frazier and Tia Toomey are making plenty of money off of their programming and everything else, their coaching business and everything. They definitely don't have to come back.
Spend their whole year training hard.
Yeah, Tia, you're already the most dominant athlete.
Yeah, good for her, beating the boys.
Yeah. All right. So that's our Stratagem podcast. Thanks, folks, for tuning in. Thank you to my co-host, Shawn Crocker. I'm Andrew Rossig. Tune in next time. Thanks for watching or listening.